Good evening, Planeswalkers. My name is Shamar, and this library is my personal favorite. This is the library that got me into Commander. The one, the only, the Oh My Squirrel. Now, this isn't the original edition because it wasn't until last year that they released Bloomburrow. And it wasn't until this year that I decided to revisit this library and give it the boost it was missing. Now, have you ever wondered if squirrels could kill your opponents? Of course they can, when hibernation is coming up. This deck is of course squirrel themed. The goal, create as many squirrels as possible, as well as food to help overrun your opponents and be prepared for winter. With plenty of acorns to nab, the squirrels are a lot more feral than one would expect. So let's find out how this deck works. Now, to lead a squirrel army to victory, we need the right squirrel commander. Chatterfang is the perfect fit for this deck to make plenty of squirrel buddies in addition to all your tokens. Chatterfang costs 2 colorless and a green mana for a total value of 3. He comes in with Forest Walk, so he's unblockable if the defending player has a forest. I mean, the forest does favor squirrels after all. He also has if one or more tokens would be created under your control. Those tokens, plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, are created instead. So he wants tokens to be made so he can bring a squirrel buddy with him. Now, if you thought that was bad enough, Chatterfang also reads, pay a black mana, sacrifice X squirrels to give target creature +X, -X until end of turn. This means if you sack 5 squirrels, you can destroy an opponent's creature that has toughness 5 or less. Also, it kind of gets around that pesky indestructible rule that you may encounter. So with this commander, we see that he is going to thrive on token generation and throwing squirrels as needed. How do we create a squirrel army with Chatterfang? This is the main point of this library. We will be summoning squirrel warriors and warlocks to help Chatterfang gather as many squirrel friends as possible, and cast some spells that reward our efforts with even more tokens and squirrel friends. This library incorporates the Forge and the Offspring mechanics from Bloomburrow. The Offspring mechanic allows you to pay a little extra when casting a card to create a 1/1 token copy of it. With this library, you always want to try to use this mechanic when casting, and also you want Chatterfang on the field, because when Chatterfang sees a token, he is also going to make a token. Let's take Bushy Bodyguard for example. Bushy Bodyguard has an offspring cost of 2, so you can pay 2 extra mana when casting it to have another 1/1 token copy of it. It also reads, you can forage when it enters the battlefield to put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So if you can forage twice, its token copy can also have 2 +1/+1's counter on it. That's a 4/3 and a 3/3 with a 1/1 squirrel if Chatterfang's on the field and just 1 explosive turn. That's nice, but what is forage? The Forage mechanic gives your squirrels abilities if you either exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a card. We want to try avoid exiling cards from our graveyard because this library really likes its squirrels and believes that the graveyard is the best for them. We may just bring them back. But what are we going to be trying to mainly generate? Some food for our ever-growing squirrel army, and of course, more squirrels. More food, more squirrels, an entire army forming before your fellow planeswalkers' eyes. This sounds like a recipe for fun, but let's find out what cards will lead us to victory. Now delving into the 99, the spells we're going to look for are food generators, so cards like Witch's Oven, the Shire, and the Underworld Cookbook will keep us pumping out food. So we can trade squirrels for food with Witch's Oven, we can tap a creature and some mana for food with the Shire, and we can discard cards to make food with the Underworld Cookbook, and later maybe bring a couple squirrel friends back. We also have a lot of creatures and spells that create food, such as the Gilded Goose, who happens to be a nice food generator and allows you to turn that food into basically treasure. Hazel's Brewmaster also allows you to give your food other effects than just giving you a life. Whenever you attack with her and exile a card of an opponent's graveyard, you are getting a food that has the abilities of the exiled card. Also, we do have Paw Patch Formation, which is a quick instant that has multiple options. Maybe you need to draw and get a food, or maybe you need some targeted removal. These squirrels know how to get into formation. The more food, the more likely the squirrels will survive the winter. And if Chatterfang happens to be on the field, we are making a horde of squirrels along with that food. So at the end of the day, food equals survival. Try to keep these pieces alive, but playing them will definitely start turning heads in the later game. Throughout this library, there are little squirrels willing to join the hunt for acorns. We have druids, warriors, and warlocks that are here to make sure your squirrel army is well stocked. The Odd Acorn Gang gives your squirrels a nice buff with trample, +2/+2, and card draw whenever they break through your fellow planeswalkers' defenses. There's the Ravenous Squirrel, who as you sacrifice more artifacts and creatures, he gets +1/+1 counters. Also, he provides you with that sacrifice outlet, allowing you to gain some life and draw some cards in addition. We have Hazel of the Rootloop, who gives your squirrel and food tokens mana ramp. Then, at the end of your turn, she gives you a copy of any token you control and doubles it if it's a squirrel. This is absolutely nuts, because with Chatterfang, that's 4 1/1 squirrels on the field at the end of your turn. Camellia, the Seed Miser, gives all squirrels menace, creates a squirrel token each time you eat, and allows you to pay 2 and forage as many times as you can to pump your squirrels. Let me just say that these squirrels are doing everything they can to make it to winter. The last golden lieutenant of this deck is Osteomancer Adept. This card allows you to revive your squirrels for one more go around as long as you can pay for them and have plenty of food. There are also a couple of spells to bring back some squirrels and reward them for their efforts. We have Revive the Shire that allows you to return target permanent to your hand, and you make a food token. Or Hazel's Nocturne that allows you to return 2 creatures and gain some life while others lose life. Keep in mind, this is all for the bettering of our ranks here. Presently, we know how to make food, how to use Chatterfang, who the stars within the deck are, and how to use the mechanics. Now what? Well, the engine pieces are the spice of this library's success, but this deck does need some setup. So a couple of rules to follow are: rule number 1, get Chatterfang out before you start making tokens to ensure that you're getting twice the value for your efforts. Remember, the goal is to get a squirrel army spreading rapidly on your side of the board, but they do need the direction of their general. Rule number 2, food is your best tool. Utilizing the dual purpose of food throughout the game is important. If you're low on life, take a little snack break. Or, if your squirrels need to forage, throw that food away. There may not be lifelink in this deck, but the amount of food you can create makes it feel like there is. Rule number 3, play with the graveyard. Squirrels care about each other, so recursion does run through this deck. If you can call out some of your discarded puzzle pieces for a second round, your opponents will be frustrated that their plans to annihilate you have been foiled. Rule number 4, attack if you can. This deck depends on you machine gunning squirrels at your opponents clear the way for a big, large attack. The trick of this deck is to see how many squirrels you can keep on the battlefield at a time. So at the end of the day, overrun your opponents with as many squirrels as you can. And sometimes those squirrels happen to eat quite well. Finally, rule number 5. Have fun with this library. Table talk and convince others that your squirrels are harmless. They are just 1/1s after all. You shouldn't be targeted for having some squirrel buddies. That's ludicrous. Yet, understand that once you play this deck, your opponents may be left looking at squirrels in a whole new light. This deck's cost comes in at $116.07 with lands, and if you don't need lands, it's about $104.62. According to Archidec's Measure of Salt, this deck scores at 28.65. All in all, this deck is full of squirrel flavor, and the general theme is just making sure these squirrels are prepared for winter with plenty of food and plenty of friends. But you have to remember to use these squirrels responsibly. Fall is also hunting season, so watch out for board wipes. And remind people, they are just 1/1. It's not as bad as people think. Now, will you survive the winter? Thank you guys for stopping into the Commander Court. Have a great day and stay warm out here.